Welcome to a brand new episode of Tech Your Business. And today we'll be talking about something that technology in the last few years has made possible for a lot of business owners. I was talking with a guest earlier. She mentioned how her company moved from 16 employees to 3 employees and they're producing more. Today's guest, when we talked the first time, he just said he runs his company is just him and the robots, and he's going to tell us how he's able to do that, different tools, different ways, and let me not talk to him, just introduce him. So he's John Cousins, and welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much, Peter. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's just good to meet you and good to talk with you.
Thank you so much. So, I think just you and the robots. What inspired you to go to take that approach?
That's a great question. I My career arc has basically been I started out as a engineer, electrical engineer, electronics, and I started out actually doing that because I was very interested in music. And so I worked for a electronic music company, made synthesizers, early synthesizers, and then got into recording studios and worked in a bunch of big rock and roll recording studios. And then as a recording engineer, mixing records and things. And then I went to work for a equipment manufacturer that made the audio and video recording equipment for the television networks and for recording studios and things called Ampex. And they were an early Silicon Valley company. Actually, they got their technology to make magnetic tape after World War II. The Germans had invented this way of recording on magnetic tape, which is just a remarkable way. I mean, it's a bunch of little iron particles on a little piece of tape, and as it goes by an electric field, those particles get an electric field, and then when you play it back, that electric field gets back through the head, inducted into it, and electronically makes music or audio. That's how it used to be done in the day before all these, before the technology went digital. So I worked for them. They were early Silicon Valley company. Then I went to work for a television network in the United States, ABC. And so I did all of that, and then I decided I wanted to actually build companies and make companies and be my own boss. I was tired of having
Yeah.
bosses. So I went on to my MBA, my Master's of Business Administration, and the reason I did that, I picked up an ABC annual report one day, and I was very technically proficient, but didn't know anything really about business and finance. And I started looking through the annual report, the report that the company would give of its financial condition, its financial statements, and all that. And I realized I don't understand this. I can't read these financial reports. So I decided I better go and learn that. So I went to the Wharton School, which is a very good finance school for business, and got my MBA. And then instead of moving back, I was living in New York at the time. Instead of moving back to the big city, I was in Philadelphia for my education. Decided to move out to the Southwest, and live in the desert in New Mexico. So that's where I've been since then. And at first, that was difficult, but then technology made it much more easy because of the internet. When the internet came along, excuse me, take a sip there. When the internet came along, suddenly the Southwest wasn't just an isolated area of, away from the big cities and all. Now we can all interact and communicate, anytime over the internet. So that was the first technology that really helped me. And then, so I got tired of being bosses. I wanted to be my own boss. I started a number of companies, tech companies, and took two of them public on the stock market, and then became a public company CFO, Chief Financial Officer, and CEO, Chief Executive Officer, for about 15 years. And while I was doing that, I also started teaching. My sister was teaching finance at a university. I thought, she was working for a telephone company, and then I thought that's so cool. I'd love to try teaching. So I started looking around and started getting some jobs at these different universities and started teaching. And while I was teaching, universities, the textbooks are like this thick, 800 pages on finance, 800 pages on accounting, or 800 pages on marketing. And, and I realized, wow, in the real world, I mean, in the business world where I'm working, I don't know 800 pages of this stuff. It's like there's just fundamentals that you do every day. And so I started to boil these things down to their essences, to their fundamentals, and teach that to the students. And I realized the students really didn't have a concept of what was really important that you'd use all the time and what maybe was academically interesting, intellectually interesting, but not something you use every day. And so I started to realize that there was a niche for that. And then I started my company, MBA ASAP. And MBA is Master of Business Administration. So it's the business, uh, all the business courses, accounting, finance, marketing, leadership strategy, negotiations, entrepreneurship, all those type of subjects. And ASAP is what we say as soon as possible, ASAP. So just as soon as possible, so people could use this stuff right away instead of taking 2 years and spending $100,000 to get an education. They could look at a course in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, or read a book, and boom, just start using that stuff right away. So that's the niche that I fill in my company. So as I was doing that stuff and building companies, first I didn't want bosses, so I wanted to be my own boss. Okay, so I became an entrepreneur. That was great. Then I realized I don't really work well with partners, so I had some partners that really worked so well, and then and then I started thinking employees are just also hard to manage and can be really tough. Everybody always has problems. They don't want to work. Something happened. And excuses for why they weren't working. And it's wonderful to have employees and to manage people and help them grow, but it also
Yeah.
can be a big headache. It's almost like babysitting. So I wanted to get rid of employees. And then I also wanted to get rid of big customers. I didn't like a customer being so important to my company that they would tell me what to do. I wanted a lot of little customers that they could make, their choice of whether they wanted to, you know, buy my product or not, and it wouldn't really affect me that much. So I wanted to get
Yeah.
rid of all those, and I got tired of investors. People that invest in your company, like you're a startup, you want investors, you want to raise money. Well, all of a sudden, you've hired yourself a boss, because they want you to work harder and they want you to make money for them. They don't care about what you're doing. They don't care if you have a life. So with that in mind, getting rid of bosses, employees, partners, investors, big customers, I decided little by little over the years, whittling all that down, I just wanted to be a solopreneur, just myself. And the technology that has advanced over the last 10 years has really helped me to do that. Now there's all these different tools um, where you can, on the front end, you can do marketing by putting ads or whatever promotions on social media, say, and then giving away a lead magnet, right? A little something, a PDF file, like a book or something. You say, learn how to do this, whatever it is. Learn how, digital marketing, or learn how to negotiate, something, and you give that in exchange for their email. And they give you their email, and then you build up an email list, and then that email list becomes a great marketing tool that you can use to give people more information, and then also tell them about your products or services. So you can do that whole marketing thing all automated. All that stuff can be automated with a program like ConvertKit or MailChimp, one of those email programs. I use Flowdesk now, which is great. And just doing some ads, and building up your social media, so you can have Facebook account and a LinkedIn account and an X account, those kind of things for free, and give your ideas, and then people follow you, and then they come into your email list, and then you use them to market. And you can point to your different, you can make a website very easily, and that's what I do. And then point to the website, people, if you like this, click on the website, and then you sell your things on your website. So there's lots of ways, lots of tools out there, and you can build the products. In my case, I'm strictly digital products. So all of my products I'm a digital first company. So, and my products are primarily books and online courses. And then I also have a community too. And the online courses, I just record those with my phone, right? I have a little tripod with my phone. I have a little whiteboard. I go up there and write my lecture or whatever and talk about that and maybe make it a 5 or 10 minute video and then take that video file, put it into iMovie, which is an expensive, Apple video editor, and edit it, just clip off the ends, put on a title, and then upload it to either my website or to a platform like Udemy or Skillshare or something like that, and build the course. And the same thing, I do that with books. I'll write a book on Word, say, or text thing, and then I will take that book file and upload it to Amazon. Has a service called KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, where you can just upload a file like a Word document or a Google Docs, and they have a cover generator where you can create your cover. I also use Canva as another tool that I use that is a graphics tool to build a cover. And then they publish that book for you. And then you can have a Kindle copy, and so people can download it to as an ebook, or they will print on demand. They call it POD, print on demand, one copy when someone orders it of a paperback. So you don't even have to have a bunch of books like behind me here. You don't have to have. Used to, you'd have to print 1,000 copies of your book to cover the fixed costs, to make the costs, and then you'd have to mail them out. Now you go to Amazon, somebody presses the button to buy. Amazon prints one copy and ships it off to them. So there's no inventory, no working capital that's all tied up in inventory. And now what they do, it's just incredible. From the ebook copy, there's a button that they will make an audible book, the audio book of it, with a synthesized voice, and they have like 6 different voices that you can choose from. American male, American female, English male, and English female. And it sounds like a real person. And they're very strict on their audible criteria. I used to record my own books. I'd read the book, record it, and then upload those files to Audible. And a lot of times they come back and say, there's a buzz in the background or there's a pop at the beginning. They're very strict. And these voices satisfy that for them, because Amazon owns Audible too. And so with one click of a button, now I create an audiobook as well. So it's in all those formats. It's an ebook, it's an audiobook, it's a paperback, and they also make hardcover books if people want to buy those, and they print those on demand too. So all of that stuff is because the only reason I can do that is because the technology has gotten to the place where I can make these contents available either through a course content or a book content, and that wasn't even available. I mean, this audio book generation of Audible, that's only been available in the last 3 or 4 months. I mean, that's how fast this stuff is moving. So that's how I can, and I reach people all over the world. My Udemy courses, I have about 20 of them.
Wow.
Um, they show I've had over 30,000 students in 165 countries. I have students. I'll have to look up how many, but in Nigeria, all throughout Africa, all throughout
Wow.
Southeast Asia, in the Seychelles, in the Maldives, in all throughout South America, and it's so much fun for me to interact with people all over the world, and allow them to enjoy my content. And so that's very satisfying. In the past now, all of my content has been in English, and English has become like the second language of everybody around the world.
Yeah.
Everybody knows lots of people know how to speak English, and which is incredible to me because I can barely just speak one language, English. I've had trouble trying to learn. I've tried to learn German, French, Spanish, and and uh, and so everybody that I've reached, has been in English. But now I'm making a course that I'm just about to launch, and maybe in the next few weeks here, it's just about done. And it's the content from my negotiations course that I've worked with these artificial intelligence engineers, and we've taken that content and put it into an AI engine like ChatGPT type of engine, and then it's a avatar. It's a computer generated version of me that looks like me, and
Wow.
with my voice synthesized, and it's all of my content from that course, and it interacts with the student one-on-one very quickly, like, and finds out in negotiations, in this case, what they know, what they don't know, and then focuses on what they don't know until they're up to speed on that, and then moves on to the next thing. So it's really a great educational tool. And it speaks in 120 languages. So it can recognize 120 languages. So someone can ask me a question in Mandarin, Chinese, or in Swahili or something, and I respond in my voice in that language. It's just
Hmm.
incredible. So the interaction is much more direct, and it's like one-on-one interaction, but at scale, because it's all computer generated, so it can scale across as many students as I as are interested. So I'm very excited about that. And that's a brand new technology and tool. We hear all about AI and artificial intelligence, but here's a use for it. That's just brand new. I also have a just launched on my website. So when you're asking about my course, there's an AI chatbot on there, and so people can just talk audio. Well, what about this course? What makes this course important or good, or why should I buy this? And then in my voice, I respond to them all their questions right there before they decide whether to enroll or not. So that's something I've just launched that in the last just before Christmas. So in the last 2 weeks, and
Well,
so the technology is evolving really rapidly and very exciting. And leveraging these tools and using these tools has been one of the real fun parts of doing what I've been doing. So the technology has really allowed me to just be one guy, doing all this stuff. Now I have a few consultants that I use too that are great, to do social media, help me with that, or help me with developing these AI tools, engineers and things like that. And I contract with them, but they're not employees that I
yeah.
pay all the time and have to figure out what for them to do. Only assemble the mosaic of the talent that I need, right, for the project that I need, and then those people, will go their ways, and then we'll assemble again other people that have other talents, to do maybe the next project. So
Hmm.
it's such an exciting time. I mean, even the fact that you and I, Peter, can sit here like this and talk, from the Southwest United States and Nigeria across the world, and talk and have this conversation, and then package it and then disseminate it to both of our respective audiences, and all those people can watch it, and there's relatively very little cost in doing this. I can't. When I started out in television, you had to have a television network, with satellites and
Yeah.
cameras and recording everything in order to do this. It would cost tens, if not $100 million to do it. So it was very limited who could do it. Now all we need is a computer and an internet connection, and the world is at our fingertips. It's just really remarkable how things have changed in the last, I would say, 40 years maybe, but even, now it seems like it's changing even quicker, and the rate of change is accelerating in the world,
Hmm. Interesting.
which
So I
could
think
be, okay.
Uh, yeah,
Yep.
I think with everything you've said, you sound like an introvert like me, trying to get rid of everything and working with everybody. Yeah. So and funny
Yeah.
enough, I'm an engineer too. I think I studied gas engineering, although I didn't practice. And when you were mentioning cassettes, I remember I may look young, but I think when I was born, we had cassettes, the small cassette tapes, and I remember I and my younger brother
Yeah.
back then would use magnets from old broken speakers to destroy them, to destroy the
For
cassettes.
racing. Yeah.
Yeah, when we were kids. So, so
Yeah.
yes. So I think you've mentioned a
Yeah.
lot of tech, a lot of tech around your business and everything, keeping everything together. So how do you keep track of what's working, what isn't working, when things break, and things like that?
Well, and that's yeah. The technology is wonderful until it isn't, right? Until it breaks or until it doesn't work. And a lot of times, things do not work, or things don't interface together. Like one thing won't work with another program, and how do you build? And um, one of the tools I use for that is called Zapier, and you can build. Zapier has these things called Zaps, where you can build links between. So if something happens on this program and you can send a message to this program to do something, and that's a very good linkaging to integrate all the technology. Zapier is a great company for that. Um, and then you're right. I think my engineering background and your engineering background gives us that sort of systems thinking where and ability to troubleshoot. If something does break, how do we fix it? Is it this thing or is that thing? Well, you got to eliminate a few different variables, right? Until you get to it's just the one thing, and then see, well, it's not that. So is it plugged in? Okay, it's plugged in. Those kind of things right off the bat, and uh, and then contacting companies and working with their help desks. A lot of companies, and then that's what I try to go for too, is companies that are very responsive with their help desk and with their
Mm,
support, with their tech support, so that if something does go wrong, you can just either call them up or email them or something, and quickly they're online, and then they work through your product. They get back to you right away and work through your problem and solve it. That's why I love Apple products, for one thing. That's why I have an Apple computer, an Apple phone. Is they have incredible tech support, and so I always feel that I can buy something of theirs and not worry about whether it's going to work or not, because they're going to help me support it and they'll figure it out. And yeah, so, and if I'm working with a company, if I try something and then something goes wrong with it and I text them or email them and I don't get a response for 3 days or something, then I usually decide to go with one of the alternatives
mm,
where the tech support is better, because you're absolutely right. That's the key. Is a lot of companies have brilliant ideas, and it sounds like, oh my gosh, that'll really solve this problem for me, or that allow me to do this. But if it doesn't work and it doesn't work consistently, and you can't rely on it, then it's not a good commercial product that you can use. Because not just for me, but I have a obligation to my customers and my audiences, right? You want to deliver to them and make sure that what you promise to them, you can deliver. So that's a key point. You're absolutely right, Peter. You got to how do you keep track of it, and how do you know when it's not working, and how do you fix it quickly? And but a lot of times that's another thing that amazes me, is how robust uh, these different programs are. I mean, it's like it almost seems like they run in the background, and then you take them for granted. I just moved into a new home. My wife and I just built a new house, and it's wonderful. But when we first were coming out here and when they were building it, we didn't have internet service.
mm.
And I didn't realize how much I rely on the internet. It's like it's a utility now, like having electricity, or having water. I mean, having heat or cooling. Those kind of things. The internet is absolutely essential, I found, for my life. And I didn't realize until I didn't have it how much I just take it for granted. Um, it's actually become one of these absolute utility platforms that can't live without, or don't want to live without. Um, so yeah, and it works. Usually works all the time. Whenever it goes down, it's like, what's going on? Suddenly you feel like you're cut off from the world.
True. Okay, so now I think
So you're an engineer too, yeah? I think.
I didn't
Oh,
get
oh no,
that.
I'm sorry.
No, I didn't get that.
Oh no, you're an engineer. You're an
Oh
engineer
yes,
as
yes,
well, huh?
yes.
And
Yeah.
I think that's just a great training for anyone, is because like it gives us that systems thinking, where we think in systems and ideas that way, and especially in the modern world, everything has an engineering component. It seems,
True. So it just makes it thrive in the modern world at the end of the day.
yeah.
Okay, so now I'm looking at all these things you've tried. I know your current stack works for you, but looking back, what has been the biggest failure you had trying to fully automate your business as it is now? What didn't work?
Oh, what didn't work? Well, a lot of I've developed a number of companies, and a number of them, a few were successful, a number of them, haven't been successful. and let's see what were in the auto, a lot of them became because of people problems. So that's why I wanted to eliminate people problems. On the technology side, um, yeah, it's interesting. I can't think of one right off the top of my head. Maybe as we talk, I'll remember a good example. But I can tell you that I try a lot of things, lots of things, and then sort of some things don't work, and then whatever does seem to have a little bit of promise, then I'll sort of focus on that and double down on that and move forward with it. And so, yeah, I can. Where I am now is a product of a lot of failed attempts that I quickly sort of discarded and then worked with the ones that were working. And so that, but you're absolutely right, Peter. It's a process where, looking back, it looks like, oh, look, this worked. And oh, look, this worked. But a lot of it was just failed attempt after failed attempt. And then maybe out of 10 or 15 or 20 different, things, projects, one took off. Um, I think I was lucky with my courses. One thing, when I first started out, I thought, oh, yeah, on this platform, Udemy, which is a great platform for courses. It's very easy to upload courses. They have an incredible ecosystem of lots and lots of students in there that then can pick from the different courses that they have. Um, and one of the first courses I did was on corporate finance, on finance. And I didn't think, it's funny, I didn't think that would be interesting to people. I thought that on the business side, people would be more interested in sort of the sexier subjects like
Mm.
marketing or strategy, or or negotiations, those kind of things where seems like that's where you're getting ahead and things like that. And I thought finance, it's numbers, it's sort of built on accounting, and accounting is so boring, and people wouldn't be interested. But I had the material, the content together, so I uploaded, put it up, and that's a good lesson for me, in not trying to guess what your audience is going to like, and just
Yeah.
try things because I think that would work. And that's to this day has been my most popular course. It's been made me the most money,
Wow.
and had the most satisfaction with students. So and I thought, I'll just put it up there and see. And right off the bat, it started to work. And so that was lucky for me, because if I would have thought, no, I'm going to do that later, I'll do these, work on these other things and then do them. And if they didn't capture people's interest, I might have thought, that this online course thing isn't for me. It doesn't work. But by having that interest right at the beginning, it's like, oh, well, if people like this, I have lots of other things I can do. And then the other things didn't catch us as quickly. And, but I already had this one success that I could say, well, I just have to, refine it this way, or have to add this material or something like that. And it gave me the impetus to keep on going, because I had this initial success on something that I didn't think was going to necessarily be a success, which was pretty remarkable. And I feel, a lot of times, um, luck luck plays a big role. And you know, I tend to think, oh, I'm so smart. People, when you're an entrepreneur, if you have a success, you think you're so smart because, oh, things went right and it was all because
Yeah.
of you. Really, most of it was luck, and have to admit that. And so the if that is the case, that luck plays a big role. And if the timing's right, if what you're doing just happens to meet with a need of an audience at that time, and there's that product market fit, then it's the timing and all that. So what I've found is that I have to try lots and lots of things and stay relatively agnostic over whether or not I think they're going to work or not. I try to find things that I think people will be interested in because it'll solve a problem or help them in some way. But sometimes people find that interesting, and sometimes audiences don't find that interesting. And I have to be like, well, that's okay. I'm just going to try lots of things, and then that increases your luck surface, right? Because if you have lots of things out there, it's like if you're a gambler, right? You place a number of different bets because you just don't know which bet is going to, if you're playing roulette or something, which one's going to
Yeah.
hit. And if you cover your bets a bit, then you've increased your luck surface so you can work with the luck and you can work with circumstances. And then once you identify something that does capture people's imagination, then you can really double down on that, focus on it, use paid advertising or whatever to, create more awareness around that. But it's that sort of time is like, are people going to find this interesting, or are people just going to yawn and go on to the next thing? Because there's so many things out there for us to be distracted by or interested in, that it's really, really difficult to capture people's imaginations. That's one thing I would say about being an engineer is I thought that, there's two types of people in business, I think, or two sides of it. One is developing products and services, and that can take an engineering mind. So
Yeah.
you know what components to put together, how to create things, how to build them. And the other side is marketing, and how do you create awareness, and how do you create messaging, and how do you create a brand, and how do you get the word out about what you're doing, and then lead people through the touch points of a customer journey until they're ready to purchase your product or service. And I thought that the product development side was the hard part and the engineering part. And marketing, once you built something good, oh, the marketing would kind of take care of itself, right? Everybody would just would come running to buy your thing. But I found that it's now, for me, it's easy to build products like books or courses or my community. I mean, relatively easy. It's a simple step-by-step program that I know how to do. Um, the hard part, the really difficult part, is the marketing part, the marketing and sales. Um, that I think a lot of people, myself included, discount the marketing side and think, oh, that's just easy. You just put out a couple of videos or something, and people will rush to buy it. And I found out that's not the case. It's really really challenging to do marketing. And so when I see good marketing, I really am appreciative of it, and then try to find out what about that marketing has captivated me, so maybe I can use some of the same techniques to captivate my audience. It's interesting, and it's just a journey. Always a journey, and I think really the best thing to do for anyone is to just start. Just start with their idea and just start to try to implement it, and then along the way, the you know the idea will develop and reveal itself to you as you interact with customers. And it's easy enough to do things. You can
Yeah.
build a website very quickly, and you can and inexpensively, and you can have social media accounts for free and put out your ideas and see if people like them, and things. So there's a lot of tools now, not only that free you up so you can do all these kind of things, but are also incredibly inexpensive to do it. It's just remarkable that you can have all the social media accounts for free, and post your material and make graphics on Canva, and have a little, Canva has a version, and you can make graphics and post those up. Or you can create a website for very little money, and then start to get your ideas out into the world, and start interacting with people. I think that's the important and the fun part, the satisfying part. And so it's not like there's
Nice.
gatekeepers that keep us from doing these things.
Yeah, unlike in the past. So now for listeners who have been inspired by this story, I think you've shared a lot of tools. You've shared Flowdesk, you've shared Zapier, you've shared different things used for different purposes in growing your business. So for listeners who have listened to this episode, they want to learn more from you, they want to connect with you, they want to probably take one of your courses on Udemy or anything, what's the best way they can reach you?
Oh, thanks, Peter. Yes. Well, the best way is well, I'm on all the social media accounts. If they just look for my name, or even just Google search my name, it'll come up with some of my books, and things like that, and then they can find me. And then my website is MBA-ASAP.com. And on there, they can sign up for my email list, and then they can contact me. My email is John, John, at MBA-ASAP.com. anyone can email me with their questions and things. All of my courses they can search on Udemy. If they go to Amazon and search for John Cousins books, all my books will come up. And so there's lots of ways to get in touch with me. Thank you. And I answer all my emails, so anybody can ask me any questions or anything like that. And I always appreciative to hear from people. So
Oh, that's amazing.
thanks.
So, your website, mba-asap.com, your email, john at mba-asap.com, would be on the screen, would be in the show notes. And if anyone wants to find out about your books or anything, just search your name, John Cousins, on Google, in Amazon, and everything pops up. So, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us today.
Thank you, Peter. It's been an absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed
Thank
it.
you. All right. And for the listeners, I hope you learned something today. You picked up a tool to automate your business. You learned some lessons. You learned that it is actually possible to run a business yourself with technology, just you and technology. So if you know someone that this episode will help, you can share this episode with them. And if you want to learn more, don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe. Until next week when we're back with a brand new episode, don't forget to keep taking your business. Bye for now.